When the current generation Civic debuted last year, it put a dent in Honda's reputation for building class-leading vehicles. Remember, this is a company that prides itself on engineering. So what the heck happened with the 2012 model? Well, thankfully, Honda listened to all the complaints, and after just 1 year on the market, they've extensively refreshed the Civic. So has Honda brought back the class-leading nature of the vehicle? Let's find out. Now, at first glance, you can easily tell that this 2013 model is definitely significantly different versus its 2012 counterpart. Honda essentially addressed every issue and complaint that the media said. They originally said the Civic looked no different. It looked too bland. The back end looked like a Camry. All of that's been, redone, reshaped. The wheels are probably the biggest improvement. This is the EX model. It sits smack in the middle. I really like those 16-inch, black finished wheels. They're definitely a nice, addition. The rear end is also another area of success. They've kind of added the Civic-ness back into the vehicle. Before, it kind of just looked like a Dodge Neon or a Toyota Camry. The one thing I wish they kind of did is put a chrome exhaust tip back on the vehicle. They still have not added that even on the coupe models. Only the SI has the chrome exhaust tip. You can see with the rear end, they've also added an integrated duck wing spoiler or deck lid spoiler on the back. The previous 2012 model didn't have that. You can see in terms of the side character, it still looks a little bit bland. I probably would have added a chrome window treatment just to break up the black. The 16-inch wheels, while I said they look better, I kind of think Honda should have upgraded to 17-inch wheels on the EX model, just because the EX, it should have a larger wheel than 16. The competition has 17s. The SI, in my opinion, should have 18-inch wheels. Now, coming to the front, you can see the front has a lot more chrome. You got a chrome grille, you got a chrome lower part, and if you get an EXL, you'll have fog lights. So they finally added fog lights that are available from the factory. It doesn't have to be dealer installed anymore. But I personally think maybe an EX should come with fog lights. You shouldn't have to upgrade to an EXL. Now, this particular EX, like I said, sits in the middle, and it has a window sticker price of about $21,605. The gas mileage is unchanged at 28.39, and because it's an EX, it comes standard with a lot of goodies like a moonroof, keyless entry, alloy wheels. A backup camera is standard on every 2013 Civic model, even the LX models. Now, looking at the interior, you can see this is another area where Honda really addressed all the complaints. You have a new seat fabric design on this EX model. Of course, it's an EX cloth. If you want leather, you gotta go to the EXL. Now, stepping inside, it's the same kind of step in. You do have to duck your head just a little bit to get into the vehicle. You can see the updated interior is a really big improvement. It's my first time sitting in this new Civic, and I'm very impressed with the changes they've done. Unfortunately, Smart Key is still not available on the Civic, so here's the same old Honda key. It's not even the newer integrated or the newer key that's on the Accord. So you still have the older one. And like I said, no push button starts available on this vehicle. The instrument panel is still the same. It didn't really need to be updated. It's just still a pretty, nice looking instrument panel. And unfortunately, the 1.8 liter engine is also the same, but it's also a good engine. It's pretty smooth. But anyways, onto the, restyled and redone interior, because this is really where it's all at. You can see here, there's a leather stitch portion here on the dashboard. I've never seen this. This is the first time a Civic has had that. It's actually padded. I don't want to say it's leather. It's just kind of this faux stitching, and it's softly padded. It's very nice. The upper portion here is still hard plastic. However, you can see with the graining, it's all just one piece, and it's a very nice graining. The airbag cover is a little bit misaligned right there is what I'm seeing. But like I said, the graining is much nicer. Everything just, has a higher quality ambient feel in here. Coming to the door panels, you can see same stitched faux leather on the door panels right here, and it's padded, so when you rest your elbows here, it's soft. You have more silver painted plastic right here, a new accent, and then of course you have your cloth upholstery from the seats added onto the door panels where your elbows are going to rest. The driver window is automatic up down, just like the 2012 model. Just the driver's window. It's not the passenger's window. Now, looking at the steering wheel, the same steering wheel, they added some shiny piano black plastic here, and it's also the chrome rings around the controls. It all makes for a nice look. Bluetooth is now standard on every Civic, not just the EX. Before, you had to upgrade to the EX. Now, you can see the air vents in here have even added some silver painted accents. You have automatic climate control. This is the first time just a regular Civic has it. It's just a single zone, unfortunately, not dual zone. Before, you had to upgrade to the hybrid model to get it. You can see here when you put the vehicle in reverse, you get a nice backup camera. It doesn't have trajectory, but it does have distance markers. But it's nice that every Civic comes standard with a backup camera. It's rare that you find that in the compact car class. The center console here, you still have, your auxiliary port over here, your power outlet, nice storage here. In the bin right here, there's a rubber feet to help secure your stuff, because my sister actually has a 2012 and she would complain that her stuff would slide around in here. So now it's actually rubberized so it doesn't, your stuff won't slide around. You have this new compartment right here. That's pretty nice. Pretty good storage options. Hondas have always had that. Unfortunately, you still have a 5-speed automatic, but it gets the job done. It hasn't really, they didn't really need to update the powertrain, although I kind of wish they went with a new 6-speed automatic, but I kind of was expecting Honda to go with a CVT. Now, coming to the glove box, it's still not damped, but it's a good size, not lined with felt. One thing they've also added here, besides, you know, more chrome right there, this armrest now adjusts. They brought this back from the previous generation. It's not 2-tier, but you have your USB, your power outlet in there, good storage solutions. Overall, just a really nice, you know, nicely updated interior. Because this is an EX, you have a nice moonroof, and they've gone back to the woven material on the headliner. That's one thing that the older Civics, or the 2012 model, it went to like a cheap cardboard material, the mouseboard material. Now they've gone back to the woven stuff, so it makes the interior just feel a lot nicer. Now, coming to the back seat of the Civic, it's still probably, you know, in the top of the class in terms of space. Don't expect to find any rear seat vents back here still. The compact car class does not give you that. You only get one map pocket though, just on the passenger side, not the driver's side. And coming to the door panels, the materials did not follow through completely. Although this new, you know, graining material is much nicer than that cheap, weird pattern in the 2012 model. But it's hard plastic, but it is, you know, softly patterned right here with the same seat fabric. Because this is an EX, you get an armrest with a cup holder, and you have a 60-40 split. The LX models just have a one-piece folding. Now, the Civic has always had a decent-sized trunk. It measures about just under 13 cubic feet. Pretty large opening, gooseneck hinges that do crush your cargo, but you can see you can fold the seat 60-40 from back here, and then you got your temporary spare tire, typical Honda. Overall, it's a very practical trunk. They've even added some, you know, material here to cover up all the wiring, so they've definitely improved the quality throughout the vehicle. And of course, under the hood, this is one area where the 2013 model has not changed from the 2012 or even the 2006 model, the 8th Gen. You have Honda's 1.8-liter 4-cylinder engine, single overhead cam, you know, iVTEC, makes 140 horsepower and 128 foot-pounds of torque. Still mated to the same 5-speed manual or 5-speed automatic, and still rated at 2839. So let's take a look at how it all works together. So what is the 2013 Civic like to drive? Has Honda really updated it enough to the point where the car feels completely different? The answer is sort of. Actually, one of my biggest complaints from the 2012 model is just the lack of steering feel and the fact that they've kind of dumbed down the throttle response and everything. The car just kind of drove like a Corolla. Honda says they brought the Civicness back into this car. I mean, Civics have always been known to be, you know, fun to drive, sporty, you know, little cars to toss around. The old one kind of lost that. Let's see if Honda actually brought it back for 2013. Now, of course, acceleration is nothing to run home about in this car. Civics have never really been like that. You have to get an SI for that. However, I'm noticing a couple things here. The transmission is definitely a lot more responsive, or at least the engine feels that way. It sounds better also. The 2012 my sister had sounded a little raspy. This one actually, they've done something to it to make it sound different. You know, even though it's a 5-speed auto, it's lacking, you know, an extra gear that everyone else has. This thing is surprisingly peppy. It just feels tossable. They've brought back the, you know, fun-to-drive nature of the Civic. The car doesn't feel as, you know, wobbly as the old one does. I'm very impressed. And of course, the visibility in this car is still excellent. Civics have always been like that, or Hondas have always been like that. You have those nice windows in front of, right behind the A-pillar, just really just give you a big sense of, being able to see onto the road. Now, the one thing that they've also done nicely is they've, reduced the noise in this car. The 2012 model had a lot of road noise. This is definitely improved, and you can see here the handling is just not bad. I would love to test drive the 13 SI model. I mean, response is pretty good. The old one, they tuned the transmission to, not downshift. This one, you can actually just put your foot down and actually does downshift pretty well for you. And it's just brought back a lot of In terms of the steering, they've brought back the, you know, the cornering response that the old one gave you. I'm talking about the 8th gen, not the watered down 2012 model. The brakes have a really nice feel. They do have a pretty, you know, strong bite when you first hit them. You'll have to get used to that. But I'm just amazed with the quietness that they've really gone to with the new model. It's gotten a lot quieter. Now, like I said, 140 horsepower, I'm thinking the Elantra, is definitely nothing to write home about. But, you know, this car is adequate with, you know, the kind of gas mileage it gets, 29, 38. It's definitely, you know, just the right amount of power for the commuter, the average commuter car. I mean, this is essentially the kind of car you buy for, you know, your high school kid who just needs a car, or maybe even those kids who are going off to college. And, you know, the Civic's ride is definitely greatly improved. That's the one thing I noticed about the 9th generation from the 8th generation, is the ride is a lot softer. But however, for 12, they made the ride too soft to the point where it almost felt like a Corolla. This almost feels like a Civic again. It's got a very nicely tuned ride that's quiet. You can hear the road noise in here is just significantly reduced. I'm very impressed. Now, of course, being that this is, you know, a Honda product, you still get a pretty generous standard equipment list. I mean, I got automatic climate control now, I got Bluetooth, I got a backup camera. The one thing I do kind of wish this vehicle had was a manual mode. It still doesn't have a manual mode in here. Probably could use one. I mean, the Civic has kind of a sportier nature. It could use a manual shift mode. The steering, of course, is still pretty light, but I think that's the way that buyers probably in this segment are going to prefer it. I mean, the kind of demographic that drives Civics, they prefer something that feels light, nimble, and this definitely does. You can hear the road noise in here is just unbelievable how quiet it's gotten. The 2012 model is just loud compared to this one. Honda's doing a pretty good job with listening to their customers. It's definitely something that every manufacturer needs to do, is just listen to their customers. Now, this being a Civic, it's got a pretty tight turning radius still. It's always been a Civic trademark. So, what could Honda have done to make this car, or make this car even better? Well, there are probably a couple things that I would have done a little differently. Personally, I think that this car still is an excellent value. I mean, at $21,000 for this EX model, it's a really great value. I mean, the kind of features you get for this car, backup camera, Bluetooth, Pandora. I mean, you still have the iMid 8-inch screen right here where you can upload your wallpaper. There's just not really much, you know, you can do with this compact car that won't boost the price. I mean, Civics fully loaded come out to be about just under $25,000 for an EXL with nav. I probably would still go with the EXL just because I want the fog lights and I like leather seats. I think Honda should probably add a push button start. This vehicle could use the push button start. The lane watch from the Accord, I could take it or leave it. This is a small car, you don't really need it. The lane departure, you don't really need it. The blind spot information. The backup camera is nice though. It's got a standard USB in here. But I mean, in terms of, you know, the power, I probably think that Earth Dreams engine, a direct injection 1.8 would probably be great. It would improve the gas mileage even better than the 2840 or the 2839. I mean, Honda, like I said, has always been a manufacturer that likes to be, you know, a class leader. And I think this is probably not class leader, but it's definitely pushed it back up into the top 3. Before, the Civic was kind of just trailing. It was in 4th, 5th place, but I probably would put it now into 2nd or 3rd place. I definitely think there are still more fun to drive cars, but in terms of features, the Civic is definitely a winner, and in terms of gas mileage and reliability, reputation, it's also a winner. So if you guys are in the market for a new compact car, I would gladly say put the 13 Civic back on your list. And, you know, if you're trying to decide between a 12 Civic or a 13 Civic, I would probably say go with 13, unless you really don't care about the cheaper interior and the driving dynamics and want a good deal. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed my overview of this 2013 Civic. I will catch you all later.